All right. Now here we go. All right. So you went over or you wanted to do services, raceways, overcurrent protection, grounding and bonding. That's what you had in your email. Let's start
Yes,
off
sir.
with grounding and bonding. And
Okay.
I am going to hop us over here. And let me get this going. So what we're going to start off with is on that test, you're probably being asked questions about sizing different conductors. And
Yes, sir.
are you aware how to use like table 21066, 210-102, and 210-122? Do you know how to use those?
No, sir.
Great. I mean, that's good because you got that score like you did without knowing how to do this. So let's go through it and clear it up for you. So let's start off
Okay.
with oh, can you see this screen all right?
Yes, sir.
The table 250.66.
Mm-hmm.
So open up your code book to that and go ahead and highlight where it says where it says I'm sorry, table 250.66 grounding electrode conductor. And somewhere on there, oh, let me get you. Is your book tabbed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've got a tab for that.
The 250.66, the alternating current ground electrode conductor.
That's it right there.
Okay, that's highlighted.
Okay, and then above that, or somewhere around there, write yourself a note. It's a non-fused conductor. So it's your service conductor, non-fused conductor.
Okay.
And then write yourself another note where it says, it'll say feeder conductor service ground. So it's the service ground for your feeders is what it is. So write your little note on that because those key words right there show up in questions.
Okay. Which one? The alternating current ground?
No. The feeder conductor service ground. Just write feeder conductor service ground in there, somewhere in there,
okay.
right there by that table.
What? Just because I don't know. I'm using the 2017. Is that going to be different from the one you're using?
No. Nope. Nope.
Okay.
I am calling it out of the 20, but it's the same table, dude. It hasn't changed. The only thing that changed is kind of location of everything. Just on the page. Go ahead.
Feeder. Write down feeder what?
Conductors service ground.
Okay.
And then on the left-hand side of that table, on the very top, it says size of largest ungrounded conductor. Do you see that? On the table itself?
No, sir. But right now on it, mine's not showing a table.
You're not on a table?
Oh, okay. It's on the next page. Sorry.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So I was writing on the wrong spot. Give me a second.
Okay. So for grounding, for all our grounding stuff, we're going to be working off of tables. So just so you're at table 250.66.
Yes, sir. And you said to look at what and write down? The size
non-fused. Let's do non-fused conductors. Make sure you got that there.
Okay.
And feeder conductors service ground.
Okay.
And then on the left-hand side of that table, at the very top, it says size of largest ungrounded conductor.
Yes, sir.
highlight largest ungrounded conductor if it's not already. I noticed she already had some markings in there. So if it's not, go ahead and highlight it.
I'm just gonna highlight a different color just so I can.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Largest underground conductor.
Ungrounded conductor. Yes. And then on the right-hand side of that table, on top, it says size of grounding electrode conductor. Highlight that if it's not already.
Okay. Got it.
Now, another thing, when we're using these tables, we got to remember that we have to assume everything's in copper unless they tell us it's aluminum. So if you look on the left-hand side of this table, and you've got a copper column and you've got an aluminum column. And now on the right-hand side, you also have that same situation. So when they talk about service conductors, if they want you to figure out the aluminum, you know, if your service conductor is in aluminum, they have to tell you it's aluminum.
Okay.
If they don't say aluminum, you go copper automatically. And so let's take that. We've got all that highlighted. And then we'll go from here. All right, let's so you may see something question kind of like this: what size grounding electrode conductor is needed for a service with 5 parallel runs of 3/0 XHHW? And so with that, you need to look, you see service right here, and you see grounding electrode conductor. Those are your key words right there, because I told you to write service ground. So whenever you see service, that's your keyword that tells you to go to 250.66.
Okay.
And just bear with me, and you'll start understanding as we go into the other tables. So what they've got is you've got a 5 parallel runs of 3/0. So they took the amperage, and instead of running one huge conductor, they divided it by 5 so that it's easier to pull and to install. Plus, I don't know, I really don't know what size this would actually be, but I don't even know if they make a wire that big if you were to use one single conductor. So
yeah,
they went
pretty big.
and they divided it all by 5 and decided it was 3/0 that was gonna carry the load. So this is what we do for this question right here. You need to go to chapter 9, table 8 in your code book.
Okay. Chapter 9, table 8.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then do you see 3/0 in there?
The conductor properties. 3/0. Yes, sir.
And do you see circle mills?
Yes, sir.
This size right here, this 167,800.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's for one 3/0.
Okay.
That's for one. But up here, we're talking 5. So we've got to take that 167,800 and multiply it times 5.
Okay.
Down here. And if you do that, you come up with 3,900,000 circle mills.
Okay.
And then what we've got to do is we've got to convert this into KC mils. So all that is adding, making it 1,000. So we take our decimal and we move it 3 places to the left. And we come up with 839 KC mil. And that's, remember, that's all 5 of those 3/0s put together.
That's the width of it, the circumference.
Yeah, exactly. Just the size of it. And now we go back to table 250.66. And then okay, 250.66, and then you go all the way on the left-hand side, all the way down to the bottom. So let's go back to our question. Since our question had nothing to do, it never mentioned anything about aluminum. Not a one thing. So it's got to be copper. It has to be copper. So you go to the left-hand side of the first column and go copper in the copper column. And if you go all the way down to over 600 through 1100, which is this number right here, that number right there falls within those parameters.
Okay.
You see that?
Yes, sir. Over 600 through 700.
Yep, exactly. And remember, it's KC mil, not C mil. So just KC mil. And then if you take that and scan to the right to this other column, the size of grounding electrode conductor.
Copper, 1/0 or 2/0?
2/0. Boy, I did some funky spelling right there. Huh. I think that was supposed to be conductor. But all right, so it's 2/0. So that's where so if you were to pull 5 runs of 3/0, your grounding electrode conductor would be 2/0 that you would be pulling in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think I remember seeing something like that. And it gave you the options of like 3/0, 2/0, 250 KC mil. And then I think another one was like 300 KC mil.
Right. So I can tell you on your test, just process of elimination, when they give you something like this and they start off with 3/0, your grounding electrode conductor is going to be smaller than that. So sometimes they'll give you like a 4/0 or 500 KC mil or something. For your test, it's always going to be smaller. So there's a few in there, some low-bearing fruits that you can just knock out of there, and it's not even the choice. So one more time, we come in here. What size grounding electrode conductor is needed for service with 5 parallel runs? So 5 and then 3/0.
Yeah.
And then you also noticed that there was no mention of aluminum.
So it's going to be copper.
It's going to be copper. So you already know in your head, you're going to go copper. So then you go to chapter 9, table 8, look up 3/0, and then that gives you your size in C mils, not KC mils. Because be careful because they know some people don't convert from KC or C mil to KC mil, and they're going to give you an answer, the wrong answer. So be careful with that. And then just multiply it times 5, and then convert it to KC mils, which means move your decimal 3 places to the left, which is going from turning everything into 1,000. And then go back to the table, take this number under copper, since it wasn't aluminum, and look for your grounding conductor right there.
Okay. So whatever it falls in between, like if it's of course it's over 600, so anything
exactly,
you're good, so you're gonna know.
Okay. Exactly.
That makes more sense.
So that's for your
Sweet.
That's for your service, something about a service conductors. There again, service conductors, you're going to need to be able to recognize that. And then they're looking for an ungrounded electrode, grounding electrode conductor. I'm sorry. So that's also highlighted in there. So there's that funky wording that they're using, but it's right there in the code book. So as soon as you know where it's at, it's like, all right, you guys aren't fooling me. I know exactly where to go. So that's how you use, let me make sure. Yeah, that's how you use table 250.66. Yeah.
Okay.
So just be looking for service. Be looking for service. And now we're going to move to 250.102C1. Table 250.102C1.
Okay. The ground conductor, main bonding jumper system, bonding jumper, and supply side bonding jumper for alternative current systems.
Exactly. First thing I want you to do is I want you to highlight bonding jumper, bonding jumper, and bonding jumper. It shows up 3 times in that title.
Yes, sir. I have it highlighted and I have it highlighted again with orange. So
there you go. Okay, cool. You guys are, how about write you a little note there, minimum size neutral conductor. I may be giving you some stuff that's on the masters versus the journeyman, but you might as well have it in your book.
Okay, so minimum size
neutral conductor.
Neutral conductor.
So you can use this table to find the minimum size neutral conductor also.
Okay.
Now I also write in there system bonding jumper.
System bonding jumper.
Correct.
Okay.
So there are questions in there that kind of read like what you see on your screen, but somehow they have a bonding jumper in there. And when you see bonding jumper, you know to go to 102.
Okay.
And when you see bonding jumper in there, in that question, you know it's 102. So when you start seeing grounding conductor and they're asking for a size, there's 3 tables that you go to. We just went over one, we're about to go over the other one, and then we'll go over the third one. But so don't freak out. Just be like, all right, I know I got to go to those 3 tables. Now let me keep reading, and then it'll start telling you where to go.
Okay.
So we got a question here. What is the minimum size equipment grounding conductor for a branch circuit protected by a 70 amp fuse? Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
So where am I? 102? Oh, I'm sorry. Dude, I'm sorry. Let's go. Let's go to 122. Like it says on the tape. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. I'm like, that's not the right one.
Okay.
Now I need you to doctor that one up before we get into it. Okay. Write you a note on 250-122, the table. It's based off of the breaker size. Or overcurrent device. Just remember, breaker size is an overcurrent device, fuse, whatever. Breaker's just easy to remember.
Okay.
If it's not already, highlight equipment grounding conductor.
Okay, the equipment grounding conductor, grounding raceway equipment.
Just equipment grounding conductor, if it's not already. And you may want to put another note down there that this is a fused conductor. There's a fuse in front of it, so it's a fused conductor that this is based off of. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Now that I've got you all screwed up, off of this table 122, we can take this question right here. What is the minimum size equipment grounding conductor for a branch circuit protected by a 70 amp fuse?
So there's not 70, but there's 60 between 100. So it'll be like a number 8.
Correct.
Because
number 8
60
copper.
between 100. You can't do anything less between 60, so you go up.
Yep, exactly. And that was it. That's it. Now let's go to the next one. What is the minimum size equipment grounding conductor needed for 3 sets of 250 kc male THHM 480 volt 3-phase system protected with a 1200 amp time delay fuse?
So we would have to go back to the table, chapter 9, table 8.
Let me give you a hint.
Based off the overcurrent device. Okay. So it 1200 amp time delay fuse.
Yep.
So it'll be 3-aught.
Yep. See all that crap they throw at you?
So then they put all kinds of numbers in there just to kind of confuse you. Just to,
exactly.
The keyword 1200 fuse.
Yep. Exactly. So that's why you have that note in there based off of breaker size.
Okay.
Does that make sense now? How your notes are starting to come into play? Where yeah, that's some cool writing and everything, but it doesn't mean shit when it comes to this situation. All you need is that right there. You don't need a time delay fuse. All you need, you probably just need 1200 fuse. That's all you need out of all that gibberish. All you need is 1200 fuse.
Okay.
And they'll do that. God, they paint a pretty picture, and you're doing the exact same thing. You're flipping through, going back to chapter 9, table 8, and blah blah blah, and it's not even that, man. So let's go to the next one. 3-aught. Now we go to, let me make sure you have this. So that's all that is. When they give you a time delay, I mean, not a time delay, but a amperage on your fuses.
You come here to this table.
And then it's, remember, it's a equipment grounding conductor. And that's what you've highlighted right there in on your table, equipment grounding conductor.
Okay.
So they tell you where to go if you know what you're looking at.
Yeah, so, if you don't know, it's
exactly. And that's why I was like, I was hoping you were going to tell me tonight that that you didn't know how to use these tables, because with what the score you got, you the next table we go over, you probably already got it passed, just knowing how to use these tables with that. So yeah, I was like, man, I hope he doesn't know, and we can just show him real quick, and then boom, he's got it. So equipment grounding conductor and 1200 amps. That's all you got to do. All you got to kind of pick out in 122.
Okay.
So let's go to 102, equipment grounding conductor.
Okay.
Let me get there. So we've already got it all doctored up. It's based off the largest ungrounded conductor again. So what size grounding electrode conductor is needed? The 3/0 aluminum.
So it specifies aluminum, so that's, you already know it's gonna be a aluminum instead of copper.
Right.
Ground conductor, bonding jumper.
So what you do is you come down here, you've already caught the aluminum. So it says starting from the left to the right, you're on the second column under aluminum, and it says 2/0 or 3/0. Do you see that?
And then go all the way. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Then
Go all the way
ahead.
over to the right. Number 2.
What'd you say?
Number 2.
You went down one. Stay with 2/0 or 3/0.
Oh, okay. It's asking for the aluminum ground, so number 4.
No. What rule did I tell you? Remember, this is a prime example of a question you're going to get. They said nothing about the grounding electrode conductor being aluminum.
Oh, so copper, because it says what size of ground
exactly
is needed for aluminum.
So there they didn't say what size aluminum grounding electrode conductor is needed for 3/0 aluminum. They just said what size grounding electrode conductor. So you would go with a number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah, and they love doing this to you, man, because you're over here looking in this 3/0 aluminum, and you're like, oh, it's aluminum, and then you go all the way to the other side and throw an aluminum number, and guess what? Number 4 is going to be one of your choices that you can choose because they know that they know
that on there.
They know. So they did not say anything about aluminum for this grounding electrode conductor. So it's got to be copper.
They're just saying that the wire is aluminum, but they're asking what size of ground.
Exactly.
Electrode conductor.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout. You just gotta. They love throwing that stuff at you.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something similar to that.
Yep. And so it's number 6 copper. So there are 4 parallel sets of 4/0 copper conductor on a 800 amp 480 volt breaker. What size grounding electrode conductor is needed for each conduit?
So you're gonna go back to that table, the 250.122.
Let me
asking for.
Whoops, sorry.
4/0 copper
yes,
conductor.
Exactly.
On an 800 amp breakers, you go down to where it says 800 copper 1/0.
No, you don't. Now remember that right there, that means nothing.
Each conduit, huh?
Yeah, so you add it up. Go to your back to your table.
Okay.
Chapter 9, table 8 for 4/0. Let me.
So you go down for the size 4/0. You go to circular mills.
Yep.
So it'll be 211, 600.
Yep.
So now you multiply that by 4 because it's asking for 4 of them, right?
Right.
Let's see, I got my calculator right here. So it'll be 846 KC mil.
Right.
Because you carry over your threes.
Yep.
So now you would have to go back to the 122.
Correct.
Or the 250.66.
No, we're in 102. We're in 102. Yeah, stay in 102. Once you start in a table, you don't jump to another table. You stay in that table.
Okay. So 846 KC mil. So it'd be over 600 through 1100.
Correct.
And it's asking, so it'll be a 2-aught.
Correct.
So it'll be a 2-aught ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you see how 2-aught's smaller than the 4-aught there again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, correct. You got it. You got it figured out. As soon as you start paralleling stuff, as soon as once you start seeing parallel, and I don't know if, like I said, I may be giving some more, maybe getting you into the master or the contractors instead of the journeymans, but when you've got it figured out, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, so I don't recall what it was, but I did see something about asking like that. So
yeah,
I've always told you can go 2 number sizes down for the copper for the ground. So
don't take your rule of thumbs into your test, man. Rule of thumbs, we'll work it out in the field and it'll work great. Keep your rule of thumbs out in your truck when you take that test.
Yes, sir. And I think that's what I think somewhat helped me on the test.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know nothing about these tables, but now going forward with this, it's gonna be a lot more useful.
Right. Yep. Cool. So those are the three tables. You can go in here when you're studying, change your sets of parallels, change your sets of aluminum, or I'm sorry, conductor size, and just work the math. You can do it all day long. I mean, we've had to. What's up?
It wouldn't matter if it was like 7 parallel sets and 4-aught. You just multiply 7 times the C mils of the wire.
Exactly.
And that's what. Okay.
So I've done up to a 4,000 amp service, so it was 11 sets of either 500 copper or 750 aluminum. So, and that's for a 4,000 amp service, 480 volt. So you can go in. I would suggest on your study and go in there and change your numbers, just so you can get back to table chapter 9, table 8, kind of work that down, and then you're good to go.
Okay. So when you're working on one table,
don't go to another table. Do not go to another table. The only table you'll have to go to is table 8, chapter 9, table 8 in the back. But if you start off with 102, you stick with 102. Or if you start with 66.66, you stay there. Don't be flipping through those other tables.
Okay.
Or you're gonna get the wrong answer. Well, I can't say you're gonna get the wrong answer, but you do it wrong. So you may luck out. I don't know. But those are the three tables.
Okay.
Work them. Like I said, work them, change your numbers around, and then just work them, and you got it. You had this one, no problem. You knew exactly where to go. Keep an eye out for aluminum. If they don't say aluminum, it's copper. So keep an eye out on that. Just in the back of your head. Just don't let them fuck you on that. So all right, cool. let's we took care of grounding and bonding. Let's see, motors. What do you know about motors?
The test on some of the motor, I don't think I've had any motor questions yet on the test.
Oh, you have it?
I don't think so, not that I recall of.
Because that's kind of where you get your feeders, your branch circuits, and your overcurrent protection, and your service. All they all, a lot of them originate from right here.
Okay.
So cool. Let's introduce you to motors, because you're gonna see motors. I'm very surprised you haven't seen a motor yet. So there's 6 steps into working your motor situation out. Step 1 is just finding the FLC of the motor. Step 2 is determining the overload protection. Step 3 is your branch circuit conductors. So between your motor control and your motor, what size wire you're running to your motor. Branch circuit protection. So the breaker and or fuse that you're putting in your motor control center or your panel. This is how you figure out the fuse, what size fuse to use. The feeder conductor size. So probably where you're at, if out on location, you've got a transformer bank off a location and there's a main disconnect out there, and then it goes into, and I know it's on pump jack, so it goes to your panel that's feeding your pump jack. So that wire that's going across location is determined, that size of that wire is determined by this this calculation right here. And then out there on that disconnect, the size of the fuse is determined right here.
Okay.
So I kind of have that drawn out for you right here. Here's your disconnect. Here's your conduit and stuff that's going across location that the pumpers always get pissed at, because you always leave a big old speed bump in their location, or a hole or something. They're always bitching about something. And then this right here is your panel on your sub pole or whatever, right by your pump jack. This is the wire that's going out to your motor onto your pump jack. So this, you got to determine the size of that right there. Now this right here is the size of your heaters on your motor. It's not the size of your fuses or your breaker. It's the size of your heaters.
The heater overload?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then this right here is your motor sitting on your pump jack, and it's just your FLC, full load current of your motor. So it goes from your motor through your heaters, down through your branch circuit wiring, over there to your breaker or fuses in your panel. And this is the wire that's going from the panel across location to the disconnect. And then at the disconnect, this is the breaker or our fuse. It's usually a fuse that's in that disconnect.
Okay.
So as we go through this, we're gonna refer back to this diagram. So go to 430.248 and 430.250. Now this may be, when you find it, double check my page numbers right here. This may be for 17, so you just may be able to go right to it. Also, that should be tabbed.
430.251 conversion table of polyphase design B, C, and D, maximum load or lock rotor currents for selection of disconnecting means controllers determined from horsepower to voltage ratings.
Nope, you went one too far. Go to 250.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's right here, 250.
All right, DC 248.
248. 430, 248.
Yeah, it should be for single phase alternating current motors.
Okay, yeah. I also have it tabbed. So that guy on his book, he had extra additional tabs.
Yep.
And it's FLC amp size.
Yep. There you go. So on let's do some doctoring up of your book real quick.
Okay.
On table 430.250.
Okay.
Take your pen and just write three-phase AC.
Right above the 430/250.
Somewhere right in. This is yours. Wherever you can spot it or do whatever. Dress it up the way that you can identify it.
Three-phase AC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On 430.248 on page 322.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 321.
430.249 full load current, two-phase alternating current.
No, do 248.
Okay, the full load currents in single phase.
So right there, put single phase AC.
Okay.
Now, those are your two tables that you're going to be working out of, more than likely. Let's see. I will introduce you to 430.247.
A full load current and amps direct current motors.
Yeah, so just put DC somewhere on there. So if they start talking DC motors, this is where you need to go. But I doubt you'll get into DC motors.
Okay.
So right here, these are the tables that you'll be using to find your FLC of your motors, your full load current. Let's take a look at 432.250. Just kind of go through it. On the left-hand side there, you've got your horsepowers of all your motors.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your different voltages.
Yes, sir.
115 volts, 120 volt, 208, 230 volts, 240, 460, it rounds up to 480. So if they start talking 480 volt motors and you're like, holy shit, there's only 460. That's what they're talking about. You use that number right there.
Yes, sir.
And so you just work. That's just how that's kind of flowed out. Be careful when you're using these tables. If you can get a piece of paper or a straight edge to help you go horizontally across to get that information, you may want to use that too. They will offer you a piece of, well, they give you a piece of paper. So
Yeah,
so that's where we find the full load current of the motors, which would be let me move you over here. So right here for this motor, we've got a 20 horsepower, three-phase, 480 volt motor with a service factor of 1.15. So what's your FLC of that?
For a 20 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be 27.
Correct. Now for our next one, we've got a 15 horsepower, 3-phase, 480 volt, service factor of 1.15. What's your FLC of that motor?
Uh, 21.
Correct. And we got a 10 horsepower.
14.
14 is it? All right, so we've started off with all our FLCs of our motors. Now we've got to find our heaters. Oh, let me move you out of the way again. So you need to go to 430.32A1.
Or 31. 432.
Should be like separate overload device.
Okay.
And in your book, put step 2.
Okay.
So on this is heaters are only required if the motor is over 1 horsepower. It's 1 horsepower larger. If your motor is marked at a service factor of 1.15 or greater, you take your FLC and multiply it times 1.25 or 125%. And then if your motor is marked with a temperature rise of 40 degrees Celsius or less, you multiply that times your FLC times 125%.
Okay.
And then this is of your largest motor, I'm sorry, of these right here, of your largest motor. I'm sorry, no, it's not. These are sorry, service factor, temperature, and then the nameplate rating of other motors. If you have like let's say you have, how can I, say you have a chemical pump set up on the same branch circuit as your main motor, then you take 15% of the chemical pump, 115% of the chemical pump to set up your heater for your chemical pump.
Yeah, it's labeled here: motors marked with service factor, motors with temperature 40 degrees less. Okay.
Yeah, it's all right there. Everything I just stumbled through, it's all right there.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. And then of course, this is where you'd find all your information. I'm sure you're very well aware of how to read that stuff. Are you good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. Oops. So since I already gave you the answer to that one, we took this 20 horsepower. Let me move you over here. horsepower motor with a 27 FLC, and you got to multiply it times what?
125.
There you go.
So 27 times 125%, 33.75.
There you go. All right, let's do the next one. 21. Because I threw that in there, that service factor of 1.15. And they'll do that.
Throwing in the service factor 1.25.
Yeah, and what they'll do is they're going to check to see if you know to multiply that like that 21 times 1.25. because your answer could be 21, or one of your selections could be 21, but the correct answer is 26.25.
Yes, sir.
Same thing with your 10 horsepower motor. You got FLC of 14. Multiply it times 1.25. And it comes out to 17.5. So now you've determined your FLC of your motor and your heaters. Now we have to determine the size of the wire going to the motor. Your branch circuit. So to do that, we go to 430.22. I'm sure that's probably highlighted for you.
What is it?
430.22.
22. Yes, sir. The duty cycle service nameplate.
Right. And what you need to pull out of there is that 125% of the FLC of the motor. And remember, this one is a single motor.
Okay.
This one's a single motor. Now, if we go to 430.24,
several motors or motors and other loads.
And then you have 4 different scenarios down there. 125% of the FLC rating of the highest rated motor. And then you take the sum of the FLC ratings of all the other motors in the group as determined by the FLCs. 100% of the non-continuous non-motor loads. And 25% of the continuous non-motor loads.
I think I have, now that I remember, I did have a question saying non-continuous breaker or something.
Okay. So what does that mean? Do you know what continuous versus non-continuous means?
Continuous is over a period of time, longer.
Yeah, what time? What's your period?
Is just like 30 minutes.
3 hours.
3 hours. So 3 hours is considered continuous load.
After it goes above 3 hours, yeah, it's a continuous load. Kind of like your parking lot lights out in, say, the mall or something, or the streets. They're a continuous load because they stay on all night long. But if something if something is less than 3 hours, it's non-continuous. So everything at continuous load, when you're working over current protection and branch circuits, if they say something like, and it's usually lighting that's on more than 3 hours, you have to multiply that load. After you figure out your load, you have to multiply that times 1.25 because it's a continuous load. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
And then after we find that, then we go to table 310.15b16, which is your conductor size.
Okay.
And then always use, I can't say always, use the 75-degree column.
The types THW, THHW. Okay.
And that will find your conductor size. Yeah, your conductor size.
So always use 75, the table 75 degrees
no,
Celsius, unless
use on this
unless
test, use the 75-degree column. There are exceptions. There are situations where we use the 60-degree column, but you will not see that on your test, on this test. 60-degree column is, yeah, I won't even get into it. You don't need to know that right now. Let me just put it that way. So stay 75 degrees and you're good.
Okay.
So, I don't know why I did that. All right, so we're going back to the motors. We've got the FLC of, now this right here is a single motor on a single circuit. If I took this line and hooked all three of these up, then we would have to do a multi-motor situation. But now we're just doing a single motor on a branch circuit right here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now to find a single motor, all we do is take 125% of the FLC of the motor. And then we go back to 31015 B16.
Find the FLCE, the heater amperage. And that'll be the wire size.
Yep.
So 35. Number 10.
Number 10 it is. Let me go back. So number 10. So let's do the next one.
26.25.
Mm-hmm.
So that falls in between 25 and 35. So you always want to go with the higher number. So it'll be number 10.
Yep.
1750. So that'll be a number 12.
Yep. So that's it on that one.
Okay. So if they don't state no like wire size like I've seen it, they've had said THHN.
Right.
So that's a column of 90 degrees Celsius. So that's the column you would use.
No. They won't I've never seen them use anything but the 75-degree column.
Okay.
Let me just put it that way. They'll throw THHW at you, XHWN. They may not even say anything about that. So just use 75 and you're good.
Okay.
And now we've got wire going out to our motors, going through our heaters, and then going through our pecker head and hooking up to our motor right here. Now we need to know these breakers right here. So let me move you over. To do that, go to 430.52.
Okay.
And then let me get there. Um, 430.52. You see the different types of fuses. There's a non-time delay fuse, a dual element time delay fuse, instantaneous trip breaker, and an inverse time breaker. See that going across the top of that table?
430.52.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, it's on the next page. Yes, sir. Non-time delay, dual element. Okay.
If it's not highlighted in your book, highlight dual element time delay fuse.
Okay.
And then under type of motor, you've got single phase motor and then AC polyphase motors other than wound motor.
Mm-hmm.
Right there under that, or somewhere around that AC polyphase motor, write yourself a note where it says 3-phase. Because that polyphase motor, they're talking 3-phase motors.
Okay.
And then with that, you take your FLC and then based on the type of motor, did I put a motor in there? Let me was there a motor? We'll just call it a 3-phase motor. Well, we said 480-volt motor, so it's a 3-phase motor. So we'll take our FLC and then we look, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a dual element fuse. And you see under 3-phase motors, go across to dual element fuse under 175.
Yes, sir.
That's your multiplier.
So you would multiply that 175 times the wire size?
Correct. No, not the wire size, the FLC.
Oh, the FLC.
Take your FLC, because that was very important in the very beginning. Remember how we found the FLC at the very beginning? We're working off of that FLC.
Okay.
And then while we're there, go to 240.6A. This is a very important table that you're going to need to know. And this is where I tell everybody, and I've already told you once tonight, throw your rule of thumb out the door, leave it in the truck when it comes to using this table right here, 240.6A.
3.6A. Okay. Standard amp ratings.
Exactly. So keep that in mind. This is where your standard size fuses come into play, or your standard size breakers. So they're gonna throw something at you where say it's gonna land between say it's a 23 amp breaker, and so most guys go, well, we'll just put a 30 in there. Well, actually, if you go to this table, you can see that there's actually a 25 amp breaker that we could use. But rule of thumb, we just round up. We don't ever go to this table. But in this test, we have to go double check yourself when you're looking for your overcurrent protection. So with that in mind, let me get you moved over here. We need to find these breakers.
Okay.
Right here. Call them dual element. We already know it's a 480-volt 3-phase breaker. I mean, I'm sorry, motor. Oop. Let me go back. So your FLC is this.
Okay.
And what did I tell you? Sorry, I didn't point something out. Back there on 430.52, your table. First off, right there on that table, write step 4.
Okay.
And you see the time delay fuse, the dual element fuse, the instantaneous trip breaker, all that stuff going across there. Right above that, that says percentage of full load current.
Okay.
So we take that 175, turn that into a percentage, which is 1.75. Take your FLC of your motor, of your 20 horsepower motor, which is 27, multiply it times 1.75
equals 47.25.
47.25. Now, what size breaker would you put in there?
50.
Correct. Do the same thing with your 15 horsepower motor.
Okay.
Your FLC is 21. So you multiply that 21 times 1.75.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you come up with?
Equals 36.75.
There you go. Which would round up to, so
40.
This is where you go to your table 240.6a. I mean, it's pretty obvious. 36 rounds up to 40, and
that's 35.
It's all right. And now let's go to your 10 horsepower, which is 14. Multiply that times 1.75.
17.5.
Right.
So it'll be a 20.
Correct. That is correct. But make sure you double check if it's like maybe a 25 or a 35 or 45. I know on most trucks or service trucks, we don't carry those in between breakers. It's always like a 20, 30, 40 kind of thing, where you actually could get a 25, 35, 45.
Okay. So I would just keep that in mind, just to
just fall back on that 240.6a whenever they're talking about overcurrent protection or fuses or something like that.
So will this be step 5?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about to go to step 5.
Okay.
And now step 5, you need to go to 430.24.
Okay.
Hold up, I'm writing myself a note here real quick. All right, step number 5. There's a multiple motor sum, and that's what we have for this branch, this feeder. Remember, this is the wire that's coming from the disconnect to the panel. So we have, in our situation, we have 3 motors on that feeder.
Okay.
So let me get there. First off, we'll notice that you take 125% of the FLC of the largest motor. And then you take 100% of the FLC of all other motors, 100% of the non-continuous motor, and 125% of the continuous non-motor loads.
Okay.
Just a heads up, continuous non-motor loads, we see it on swimming pools. They'll take your yard lights that come on at dark and you party all night long. That's where you would work your this situation in right here. But let's worry about this right here. 125% of the FLC of the largest motor and 100% of the FLC of all other motors. So, let's go back to, so we take 125% of this, which you should already have in your notes somewhere, right?
Yes, sir. 3375.
Right. And then we take this, add it to 3375, add 21 to 3375, because that's 100% of one of the smaller motors. And then you take 14, add it to the sum of 21, add all these up, 21, 14, and 3, 3375.
$77.5.
77.5. And now we go to 31015B6 for your conductor size.
Okay.
Which is
B6 or B16?
B16, I'm sorry.
Okay. So it'll be 77.5. So it'll be number 4.
Number 4. Yep. Exactly. And now, our last step, we got to put a fuse in that disconnect out there at the edge of the location. So now we need to go to 430.62. Oh, wait a minute. Before you turn the page, at 430.24, put step number 5. Or I guess you don't have, you can go back if you need to.
Okay.
So you take, so to get this, the feeder for the overcurrent, protection for the feeder, you take the largest rating of the branch overcurrent protective device, which is whatever this breaker was right here in your notes.
That one was number 10.
No, it was a breaker size, like 40. Was it 40?
I believe so. Give me a second.
Because it was like 36 point something.
Yeah, it was 40 because
40?
There was a 35 and not a 40.
It was 35 or 40?
It was 40.
40. Okay, so we take 40. And then we have to add up. So we got 40, and then we have to add up all the FLCs of the other motors.
The full load currents, okay.
So we've got that right here. We've got 40 plus 21, which is 61, plus 14, which is 75.
Okay.
Do you see that? So we took the 40, which is the largest of the overcurrent protection on the branch circuit. And then we came over here and we got the 100% of the FLCs of all the other motors. And then be careful with this one. And go find the fuse size at 240.6A.
Okay. So it was actually a 35 size breaker now that I'm looking at it.
It was a 35. So you
Yeah.
came up with 72.5. So on this, you got to round down. This is one of the very few places where you round down instead of round up in the NEC.
Okay.
So at 240.6A, your breaker
would be a 70.
That would be a 70. That is correct.
So on this table, you round down?
Exactly. For this situation right here, for your feeder overcurrent protection.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is somehow, if you could get this into the test with you.
Okay.
Then you can go through your steps of your motors because you've got everything in 430 already marked. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
You can write stuff back in these little pages of the notes, right? The paper.
Dude, I don't know if you can see this. Can you?
It's a little blurry, but
I can't. But I don't have any space in the back of my book. Let me show you 430. Because you see how they inspect your books.
mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't get too carried away. Maybe after they see this. So, let me get.
So the step number 6 would be a 240.6.
Step number 6 would be 230.62. That's step number 6. All right. So, of course, this is a 20 and you're in a 17, but there's your first 4 steps right there in my book.
Okay.
I've got those. And there's step 5 and there's step 6 on the next page that I handwritten in there.
Yeah.
So you can get them in there. The way I look at it, it's not cheating unless you get caught. Also on the next page, I have this diagram. That's the diagram that's on the screen right now, just a little modified to remind me of what's going on.
And that's on the what page?
Whatever page. It's your book. You put it wherever you want it.
Just so you can remember for the motors.
This stuff for me is back in 430. This is at the very end of 430, so it's all motors.
Oh, it's that
you know, if there's some space, fill it up.
Okay. Right here would be a good spot under the table of 430, 247.
Like I said, it's your book. Yeah, wherever you can remember where all that stuff is, use it.
Okay.
That's also where right here, in your information, you need to somehow, where's it at? One more step. You need to make sure you get this table notated in there somewhere. So you remembered to go back and look at those overcurrent protections instead of just guessing.
Okay.
Just get it in there. But that right there, what we just went over on this, took care of your motors that you didn't ask about, but it also took care of your overcurrent protection. It took care of a lot of your service, your feeders, and your branch circuits.
Okay.
Now that's on motors. There's still some service and feeders on single family dwellings that you may have seen. And we didn't get to raceways or boxes. We're running. Heck, we went about an hour and a half right now. It's all good. So we can set up another time. Okay. We can go over those or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. Well, get on that same link, set up another calendar time, and we'll continue on with raceways and boxes. I'm sure with raceways and boxes, you're trying to do box fill and all that stuff and how to do all the deductions and additions and all that stuff. We can go through that. And then pull boxes, your multipliers, if it's a diagonal, if it's a straight, an angle, we can get that taken care of too.
I remember one of them was like I have it written down right here. How many pounds for a junction box and ground?
How many what?
And it was like how many pounds rated for a junction box underground?
Oh, that's an underground vault. Yeah.
So it was like 30, 50.
I'll tell you
60,
what.
And I think 100.
Let's set up another time. We took care of a bunch of stuff right here, but we'll do raceway boxes, and I will walk you through how to use that index in the back. That question right there, you should have been able to go right to the index, and it would have put you right on the answer you needed.
Yeah, I went through the index and I went back to the thing, but I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe I was looking wrong or something, but
correct. All right. All right. Let's stop the share. Ding. Oh, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Huh. Not on my end, you're not. Let me get you. There we go. Cool. All right.